You're about to get into FPV, you want some good gear, and you want to know what are some of the best FPV goggles that you can get. Well, stick around because we're going to be checking out these new bad boys and comparing them to some of the other top players. G'day, Stu here from UAVfutures, and today, well, despite looking extremely futuristic, like I'm out of Tron or something like that, what we're going to be checking out are these bad boys right here. These are the Topsky FX7 goggles, and there's a lot of hype about this. A lot of people have been talking it up, super exciting. So what we're going to be doing in this video, we're going to be sticking them on the bench, breaking them down, and we're also going to be comparing them to things like the Fatshark HD V3s, also the On-Way Commanders, because FPV goggles are something you want to get right. They cost a lot of money, especially the ones up at this top range, and these are some of my favorite videos to do because getting the right pair of goggles means you're going to have a better flight experience, and it's something you want to get right firsthand. So anyway, enough rambling on what we should do. Let's stick them on the bench, break them down, because there's some really interesting features in here, like being able to take Fatshark modules, which is pretty exciting. We'll break them down, and then most importantly, we'll take them out to the field, we'll fly them around, we'll show you some DVR, we'll also hand them over to Grumpy Trev and find out, is this going to be the right FPV goggle pair for you? Alright, enough rambling here in the studio, let's stick them on the bench and get started. Alrighty, so here they are on the bench, and the first thing we're going to notice, they look totally different than any of the other goggles we're sort of used to. That not only do they have this very striking red color, they look pretty futuristic, very, very different. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to be comparing them against some of these bad boys. So these are the Fatshark HD V3s. We've got some On-Ways here, and I know a lot of people on the internet are saying things like Fatshark killers, and that's a pretty common video title because for so long, people have been sick, and I, for one, am sick of paying $500 for a pair of goggles. Well, these were sent for free, but I'm sick of people in the community having to pay so much money for a pair of goggles, and we all want something that's a lot cheaper. So the first thing we're going to do, let's stick them on the scales and find out exactly how much they weigh, because you need a light pair of goggles if you've got to wear it all day. You want it to be comfortable. So I've got my scales here. Stick them on the scales. They're coming in, excuse that, that's going to be annoying, at 205 grams. So if I compare that to, say, my Fatsharks, which don't have a receiver in them either, 194 grams there, and putting on my On-Way Commanders, we'll take out this cord here, so excuse me, On-Way Commanders, they're coming in at 180 grams. So look, they're the heaviest goggle of the lot, but only by 20 grams. So they're really not as mammoth heavy or anything like that. So look, I don't think the weight's going to be too much of an issue. Now, before we jump in and have an in-depth look at the unit themselves, let's have a quick squiz at what you actually get. So you come in this little carry case, fair enough. No biggie, neither here nor there. It's a little bit bigger than the Fatshark style. You've got your charger, which is important. I do actually like that it comes with a charger. You've got some useful HDMI cords, so we're going to throw those to the side. We'll talk about those a little bit. You've got your AV input, outputs, all those sorts of jazz. You've got your right-hand polarized, circular polarized antenna, which we'll be talking about. You have this part, which is a little bit strange. It has to do with the faceplate if you want to put some foam there. So we'll put that to the side. And then you've also got your battery as well, which we'll be talking about. So I'm going to throw this case to the side. And then probably one of the most interesting parts, you actually get this little receiver module in its own little pack, which is really important because this is actually the same size as the Fatshark module. So that's one of the best features about these goggles, that they're designed to actually take some of our Fatshark receivers, which has made the HD V3s very, very attractive to a lot of people out there, but there's going to be some hidden things that's important to know about. Alrighty, so with that out of the way, let's jump in, let's have a bit of a closer look at the actual unit itself and what some of its features are. So you can see across the top here, there is a ton of buttons and also these little four-way dials. So we've got on the side right here, we've got up to change up and down our channel. Right here is how to access our menu, like our brightness and all that sort of jazz. This side has to do with your DVR, which we'll be talking about a lot in a little bit as well. And then you can also adjust your volume right here. On the top, you've got a fan option, which is fantastic, and you're definitely going to need that on these goggles, because one big difference between those other two goggles that we keep referencing, like the On-Ways and the Fatsharks, this one, it does have, like, I guess, a face cup, but definitely not a face plate. So this thing is, it's going to get very sweaty. I can already tell if you've got this on your face on a hot day, it's going to be sweating up a lot more than, say, your On-Ways or something which have this sort of foam stuff on the outside. Now, to sort of rectify that, you do get these little cushiony pad parts that you can sort of velcro on. I don't think that's a very good solution, because I would much prefer a solid sort of faceplate that you can actually velcro something to. These bad boys, I think that's just going to get annoying, and the face cup itself, it feels like it comes off. It doesn't actually sit on there quite so well, so that part's going to be a little bit frustrating. Now, flipping it over, we have a ton of options. Before we get onto the good stuff, talk about the screens themselves. You know, you've got your IPD adjustments on the bottom. One part I do like, see right here, you know, all the goggles have a fan, but I like
how this one actually has a switch, so you don't have to muck around, because sometimes pushing a button you can't tell if it's on or off unless it's making a lot of noise. But I like how this one's got a little switch, so it'd be cool if we could do that. One point I want to talk about too regarding the eye adjustments, look, they feel okay on my face. I've probably got to have them towards the outside. It actually ranges from 58 to 72 millimeters, so I need mine right on the outside. But one part I do wish, something like on the eSheen EV100s, you haven't seen those. They're a super cheap pair of goggles that I was impressed with. I'll leave a link to that up here. They actually had some sliders in and out, so you could adjust your focal length, I guess, the depth perception wise, as well as the left and right. So I wish these expensive goggles would include that. Moving on, so on the outside we've got a connection right here. That's going to be for your head tracker. I don't have a head tracker unit, and I don't know anybody who flies FPV race drones that actually uses one of those. Right here we've got our power plug, which is a little bit different because on the other two they're both on the side. So underneath, you know, no biggie. Is that going to be more annoying? I guess time will tell. Right here we've got some AV in if you want to use a ground station or a clear view or something like that. I do like how you've got the option to turn the RX off and on, so I think that's pretty cool. You've got a HDMI port right here if we're going to hook it up to our computer lately, have a bit of a squiz, and here's also our earphone jack, so we can, if you wanted to, you can listen to some of the audio as you're flying around. Here's probably where things get a little bit interesting. So this is where we're going to talk about the screen. So these screens are actually a little bit different. They're 42 degrees, which is the same size as these ones right here, and the Commanders have a 32 degree field of view. I'm going to flash a picture on the screen so you can see exactly the differences of what you're going to be looking at. But look, it is very big, it is very immersive, but I kind of think that these screens might be a little bit too big, because when you're flying around, there's a difference between immersion and focus. Sometimes I think the bigger screen can be a little bit more distracting, and if your eyes need to look around all the time, you can be more focused on that, whereas if you have a more centered focus field of view, a little bit smaller, sometimes I actually think that that helps with that high speed racing. Now the screen themselves look a little bit funny, I guess. We're getting sort of like a bit of a shadowing effect, and I think that's because they're doing some different things with how the light bounces around in there. I can see a few mirrors up in there, which is very different to how these traditional goggles work. You know, usually that's going straight to our eyes. These ones doing a little bit of magic in there. One part I want to point out, I'm just going to plug a battery in right here and check this out. This isn't the battery that came with it. The battery that came with it is actually charging, but you notice it's on, it's beeping, but the screens aren't on, and I kind of like this feature. When you put it to your face, that's when the screens come on. So you cover this part, it should turn off in a little bit, we'll just have to wait and see. So you're going to be saving a little bit of battery there, but I don't know how useful, look, it's a cool feature, but I don't know how useful that's going to be, because most of the time when you're in the field, if you don't have your goggles, I guess, on your face, I've got mine resting on my forehead, so like a pair of sunnies up there. Now when we go out to the field and we hand them over to Grumpy Trevor and I'm flying them around, we'll be talking a lot more about the screens, you know, the field of view, how they look, the colors, all that sort of jazz. So that part will be out in the field, which will be up soon later in the video. If we flip them towards the front, this is where things get a little bit different as well. So you've got this part on the front, and if you didn't know better, you'd think that was all the goggles are, but this part actually unclips, and I'm going to be very cautious here because it doesn't unclip easily, and I feel like it's going to snap. So you can see this front part is just held on by some little clips there. You snap those off, that's goodbye. That's not going to work anymore, and to be honest, I don't even know why we really need this part. It might look coolish, but we'll put that to the side, because then really you need this part open, because what we have over on this side, this is where we've got our module bay, and that is one of the strongest features of this goggle. That's where all the hype was. I've heard people raving on about this thing before it was even released, banging on about how good this module bay was going to be. On this side, here's the card for your DVR. I don't really like that this is sort of hidden underneath that part. That part's a little bit frustrating. I really love on the Commanders how you've got your SD card on the top. So simple, so easy to get. I don't really like it on the Fatsharks right here. I find you need a tiny little pair of tweezers or something to get it out of there. That part's frustrating. On this though, this is even worse. If this is hidden underneath this and underneath this, I'm going to think that's a massive pain in the butt to try and get that out. You can also put your head tracker module in there if you need to. So with all those main features out of the way, I want to dive a little bit more in and talk about these modules, because that is one of the biggest features of this. A lot of people are excited. So it does come with your 40 channel module right here. You can simply plug it in. Notice how it's sitting in nicely like that. The antenna comes out the side. We'll talk about the antenna in a minute as well. And you can cycle through your channels and bands, all that sort of jazz. I should mention, when you're cycling through the channels, it doesn't go through them in a nice way that we're used to in terms of bands. It just goes through them from lowest frequency to highest frequency. So that part's a little bit annoying. You've got to cycle through. There's no easy way to change bands. You've just got to press all the sort of buttons. I'm going to take this module out here. So this is the module that comes with it. This is a 40 channel. It is not diversity, so you're just going to be using one antenna on there. And one of the best things about these modules is that you actually can use diversity. And I'm going to put in, say, this is the one off the Attitude V4s, which look, a lot of people like that goggle. That fits quite nicely nicely, so you can use that if you wanted to. You're not going to be able to access that button. You're also not going to be able to put the faceplate on or anything like that because it just doesn't fit, and that's a pretty small module. And then if you get some others out there, this is really where I think this is its biggest failings right here. So look, we've got those two modules. That's great. They fit, but they're not diversity modules, and that's such a big popular thing in our hobby nowadays. Most people are flying around with LaForges or Furious modules, all sorts of things, or some of the real ACC ones, but let's check that out. So right here I've got one part. This is like the LaForge clone, the real ACC one. Going to put that in, you'll notice that it's going in backwards, so you're not going to have access to any way to push the little slide wheel or anything like that, and it doesn't fit. What I'd need to do is actually shave down some of the plastic on my goggles, because you notice it is clipping on the outsides right here, so that module's not going to fit. And then if you've got some of the bigger ones, like this is the Furious V2, putting this bad boy in here, there's absolutely no way that that's going to fit. That stack is going to poke out a long way. You're not going to be able to click the front cover on there, let alone something like this. So even though their module is super slimline and it does have the same pin layout in here, the modules don't fit well, which is an absolute tragedy, because that was kind of this goggle's biggest selling point, was you could put any receiver you like in there. I think it's a great concept. It's what I want in all goggles, but it's just not working when it doesn't fit. So this bay needs to be a lot bigger. So if you're listening, Topsky, in the next version, this is a great idea, but can you please put it around the right way so they can plug in correctly, and also make it that they actually fit? Because I know you've designed it on your own in the Fatshark one, but if you're going after what our FPV community is all about, most people nowadays are flying around with these diversity modules, whether it be the clone ones, the LaForges, or the True Ds, but they're just not going to fit, which is a massive shame. Now look, I've plugged them into my laptop right here, so if you did want to use some sims or something like this flying around on a HDMI input, I think that's a very clear image right there, so they might be good if you want to use them for some sim practice while you're at home. I've also put the antenna in here, so I'm going to unplug this now because I'll flash a picture on the screen of what the resolution looks like anyway. So pretty clear image as far as hooking up to your computer goes. With the antenna in, you can see it actually feels pretty loose in here, so even though the antenna is done up tightly, and look, it's a right hand circular polarized antenna, I'm just going to unplug the battery because we don't need that plugged in for the rest of it. But you can see right here, look, it's very loose. There's going to be a lot of stress on those little pins right here that are at the front, because if you're running around the field or jogging after your quad or walking around, maybe doing lots of crashes like Trevor, and you've got to pick it up, you're not going to be having a good day, because I reckon after enough time that's going to snap off in there. So I wish that part was a little bit more snug. So the design of this thing, look, I think they're trying to do some things right, but they're just not hitting the nail on the head as far as it is on the bench. So the receiver bay doesn't quite fit our modules, which is exactly what we need it to do. It seems annoying the way you've clipped it on. The faceplate doesn't seem to work right. I do like some of the little additions like this part right here, but is that really going to make too much of a difference when you're out in the field? And I wish it had some better adjustments in terms of back and forward. So look, they've done some things right, but some things wrong. But probably the most important part, how's it going to go when we actually got it on our eyes? What's the FPV experience like? Because it's no good rattling off the different stats, all that sort of stuff, if it's either great in the field, bad in the field. What we need to do, let's do it now. Let's get out to the field, fly it around. I'll show you guys some DVR. We'll hand it over to Grumpy Trev, and we'll get some of the comparisons between this bad boy and find out, is this one of the better goggles out there? Is it worth 350 bucks, or are you worth paying for some of the more expensive, something like the HD V3s, or should you swap it over and get a pair of Omways? Anyway, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's cut out to the field, rip it around in 3, 2, 1. Radio out here in the field, about to rip it around with these little bad boys right here, looking super stylish. I'm going to fly it around, give you my impressions. We'll also show you some DVR. Then we'll hand it over to Grumpy Trev and see just what he thinks. All right, let's get to it. I should also mention too, I'm just using the original receiver and the original antenna. All right, let's get started. So before I fly around, just putting them on my face, they feel pretty comfortable. They do feel bigger than how I would say the normal Fatsharks, and definitely the Omways. Pretty spongy. These little scratchy parts are actually a little bit annoying though, so these little Velcro parts, so not really a fan about that. And I am getting a little bit of light leakage through the red plastic, so that part's a little bit of a shame. We'll have to see when I'm flying around if we sort of forget about that or if it's very distracting. All right, let's fire it up and see how we go. I better turn the receiver on. That's probably why I can't find a channel. A little bit blurry, and I'm getting some sort of strange shimmering. Bit of a bummer about the weather. That part's not fun. Just trying to line these up with my eyes. It definitely does feel different to say my Omways, which I really like. One annoying thing, like when I unplug and replug, I've got to go back and find the channel that I thought it was on, which is a little bit frustrating. It doesn't just automatically stay to the one that you last set it on. All right, let's do this. Let's start the DVR. So it is a nice picture. I am getting some sort of strange rainbow effect, which is a little bit interesting. The colors look fine. Go around the back of the chimney here. We'll see what the reception's like. Oh, a little bit sketchy behind there. That reception it's really actually starting to deteriorate as my flight goes on. Like the screen's flickering a lot more, almost like it's going light and dark. So when it goes in some bad reception, it sort of mucks it up for like the next couple of seconds. So yeah, I'm sort of, the reception, it seemed okay to start with, but as the flight goes on, these goggles don't seem to be doing a very good job.
Look, I just wanted to pause this part here because I did plan to show the DVR after my ramblings in the field, but upon getting home and checking it out, this is how the DVR comes. It's like half speed. It's pretty useless, so there's not really too much point going through this, and I have no idea why it's coming up, why it's got that blue bar on the side, or why it's all coming up as strange alien blue colors. Very, very bizarre.
I am upset that I can't put a Fatshark module in here, or at least not a Fatshark, you know, one of the diversity modules and those sorts of jazz in there. Those little Velcro bits are scratching my face, so that part's a little bit annoying. It doesn't feel heavy or anything like that though. Oh, I'm getting some sort of strange lines in the screen actually here, almost like the picture's deteriorating. That part's sort of going out of focus as I'm flying, not the camera. Yeah, like there's some strange lines on the screen, like watching an old TV. That's the best I can describe it. I know that's a terrible analogy, but yeah. And now it's come good again. So I think there might be something weird going on with the receiver there. There's no latency or anything like that. The menu system, that's all pretty straightforward.
They feel comfortable, Stu?
Yeah, they feel all right. They feel bigger. I reckon they'd be suited to people with bigger heads. So maybe your big buff head, Trevor. But yeah, I think if you've got a larger face and you find the Fatsharks too small, these might fit a little bit better. But for the money, there's just so much competition. And there's so many things, like these goggles want to do some stuff right, but I just don't think they're worth the dollars, especially when you put them up against the Onways, which I absolutely love. You know, you've got the Dominator V3s, you've got the Sky Zones, all the goggles are about the $350 mark. That's exactly where these are, and there's no way that these are better than those, which is actually a little bit of a shame. I think the worst thing, they've really got to fix that module bay and fix this faceplate as well, because that part's a little bit frustrating. I'm not feeling any pressure on my nose or anything like that.
What about now?
Yeah, I felt that. Let's bring it in. We'll hand it over to Grumpy Trev and see what he thinks. Yeah, they do feel different.
You've got one.
I don't like these parts. That's very irritating. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what you think. All right, GT, back at the chimney. What do you think about the Topsky goggles? $350.
First impression is they're designed to sell because they look a bit new age, I suppose. I've got these plugged in at the moment. I can hear the fan. Now, that's going to be annoying. All the other goggles we've ever had, I can't hear the fan. This thing's quite noisy. The faceplate looks a bit iffy, looks like an afterthought to me. Yeah, I don't know, look, we'll give them a go. They don't impress me yet. The pre-advertising we've seen for these look a lot better than what they are. Get access to everything. You've got to take this piece of shit off the front of you. That's just to make it, I suppose, look better. All your module bays are in here. They don't take a Fatshark module, so that really sucks.
They do take the Fatshark module. They don't take the diversity ones that we're used to, like
yeah, well, that's what I meant. Yeah. So you've got little tiny tabs on. I can see those breaking. Anyway, we'll give them a go. I'm not impressed yet. Oh, shit, they're annoying already.
Hang on, your battery's come out. This isn't the battery that comes with it. Are you going to be right to put that in?
It goes in there somewhere, doesn't it?
How many old men does it take to plug a battery in? Do you want me to do this, Trevor?
That's all right. Oh man, 10 minutes.
Hang on, and now I've got to fix your antenna up too, because that's come loose. To be honest, I don't like tightening that. It feels like it's going to snap, but okay, we're good. All right, I'll get the radio. That's round the wrong way, mate. There you go. Are they lining up for your eyes?
Yeah, not too bad. Getting some lines across the screen. It's a bit crappy. Nice picture. Reception's pretty. I'd expect a lot better than that. Look, for the price, I'd expect diversity. I'm in line of sight of this thing. I'm not far away, probably, what, 150 metres, would you say, Stu?
100 metres, yeah.
100 metres, and that is really, really edgy on reception. I've got to admit, the picture is really nice. I quite like it, but reception's a bit hairy going. I don't know if they're going to bring out diversity modules for these. The light leakage on this is really annoying. All I can see is this big red surround. Look, I think these are $350. You can get Onway for, I think, a little bit cheaper than that. They come with diversity.
You've actually switched to Onways. Like,
yeah,
I've switched to Onways, and I've got like the HD V3s. You've switched to Onways. You used to have the Dominator Special Edition. So I guess, how do these ones hold up against the Onways?
They don't.
Okay, let's put it pretty simple.
Look, all the hype on these things, I reckon the people that have, all the guys that have pre-ordered these are going to be bitterly disappointed. Definitely not a fan. Fatsharks or the Omways to be way better value than these. These things are not terrible, but honestly, they're not worth $350. You can't compare these with Omways or Fatsharks. Like, great picture, but that's about it. These little tabs, what a shit idea. They've made a new set of goggles that take a diversity module, right? But they haven't made one that'll fit all the diversity modules that are out there. I mean, that's pretty fucking dumb.
Give him a grumpy Trev value rating out of 10. What do you say for this? $350 for the Topsky goggles.
Nah, 50. I give them a 5 for value.
Okay.
And for performance, probably about a 7, maybe 6.5.
Okay.
They're okay, but I've seen better.
Yep.
For the price.
All right. Thanks, Trev.
All the hype about these things is all bull. Give them a miss. They should have released these to people like Bruce to critique them first, so they get it right. I mean, I can't understand why these guys don't do that.
Rightio, there it is. There's my review of the Topsky F7X goggles, and honestly, do I think they're worth it for the money? Are they Fatshark killers? As much as I would love to say they are, because everybody knows I'm not really a fan of those expensive Fatsharks, I'm going to say no. You've got to give these ones a miss. They're definitely not worth it. Now, well, look, some people might disagree. Some people might be telling you they're awesome. This is just my opinion, so hopefully you guys can appreciate that. But I've tried a lot of FPV goggles out there, and I'm going to say I'm not really a fan of these ones. Trust me, more than anybody, I want cheap, good FPV goggles out there, because getting your FPV right is one of the most important things you can do when you're flying these drones around. If you don't have a good pair of goggles, you're not going to enjoy the experience. So now look, they do some things right, but they just do too many things wrong. So look, they feel okay on your face. These parts are a little bit scratchy and annoying. I don't like the faceplate. I don't know why, you know, the best selling point was trying to put in a different module, but they don't fit. And then the reception started to go a bit crazy with mine, so almost like it kept deteriorating as the flight went along. So that part's a little bit sketchy. Now look, I don't want Topsky to give up. Please take this back to the drawing board, fix some of those things up, because I do think you can make a good goggle. There does seem like there's some quality here, but there's just a few things they haven't given it out to enough testers. Like Trevor said, you know, hand it out to people like Bruce, all those sorts of people who can go through, find out what's wrong with it, and then fix it in the future, because I want good, cheap FPV goggles out there. I'm sick of one company dominating. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Definitely subscribe for more FPV related content. I'm going to say, so to sum it up, give these bad boys a miss, and not worth the $350. They're not Fatshark killers. If you can get a pair for like $200, I would say definitely, you know, that's more around where the price value is. Now, one part that makes me a little bit sad, I know a lot of people pre-ordered this because there was a lot of hype. Some people were really talking up how good they're going to be. They're going to be Fatshark killers, how it's going to take their diversity modules, all that sort of jazz, and this just isn't the case. So my heart goes out to those people out there, and I would say, look, if you're wanting to buy something on pre-order and it's a new product that nobody has any experience with, definitely just wait till there's some other videos with people in their hands, because it's just not worth getting burned based on what someone's sort of speculating. So wait till someone's actually got it in their hand, on the bench, taking it out, giving you a real impression of what it's like, because otherwise you're going to be like what happened here, and we don't want any more of this sort of stories where someone releases a bad product, but because of hype video in the past, a lot of people jump on that bandwagon. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Drop your opinions down below. What do you think? Do you think, you know, are these a good goggle for you? How much would you pay for them? Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. It's such a shame too, because look, I did want these to be good. I wanted these goggles to be another competitor in the market. I think Topsky's on the way, but there's just so many things they missed here. They just need a little bit of fixing, and they could be so much better. Oh well.
Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAV Futures family, there's things like bonus velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.